I have struggled with food, exercise, and body image for years now. And for a while now, I have told myself that if I wasn't acting on the behaviors anymore, I was fine. But I have realized that constantly thinking about food, exercise, my body is controlling my whole life. So in this video, I want to talk about the thought patterns I'm trying to unlearn and the actual habits I'm building to stop letting them run the show. And that has been a hard thing for me to admit. Because in my head, I'm like, well, I'm doing better now. And that's true. I am doing better now. The thoughts used to be much worse, and I used to act on them most of the time. Now it's mostly just mental. It's mainly just thoughts and not behaviors. And I think because of that, I have minimized the problem. Like if I'm not doing these old things anymore, maybe it's not such a big of a problem. Maybe I should just be grateful that I'm not where I used to be. And move on. But the truth is that it is still a problem, because even if it is just in my head, I'm dealing with it all the time. It still affects how I move throughout my day. It still clutters my mind. It drains my energy and pulls my focus away from the things that I actually care about. And for a while, I have tried to just ignore it. Like, okay, the behaviors are mostly gone, so just leave it alone, Victoria. Don't dig into it. Don't make it a bigger thing. But ignoring it hasn't made it disappear. It just turned into this constant background fight in my mind. And that doesn't seem like a good strategy, if you ask me. And I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be spending this much time thinking about food, exercise, my body, and whether I have done enough for the day. Because it is not just there. It is affecting my life, whether I want to admit it or not. And I need to actually deal with it instead of just pretending that it is harmless just because it's not as visible anymore. Snack break. What's tricky is that the thoughts are more subtle now, so they are easier to excuse. It's not always a dramatic thought. It can be things like, you should eat less today. You didn't move enough today. You'd feel better if you were smaller. You'd be more liked if you were skinnier. You should be in more control and be more disciplined. And these thoughts, they sound quite normal because this is what we hear in society all the time and is what has been normalized. So I have just started to treat them as background noise. But they are not neutral, because if I'm thinking about food choices all day, if I'm overthinking whether I have moved enough, if I'm constantly mentally checking my body, then that is still taking over my life. And I don't care what social media says that we should focus on, because that's not healthy to focus on, okay? You shouldn't be having those thoughts all the time. And I have had to be honest with myself about something that is kinda ugly. Part of me absolutely believed that being smaller would make me happier. More attractive, more in control, more worthy, more liked. Like people would see me and immediately value me more without me even having to open my mouth. And another part of me that's even uglier is the one that wanted me to look small and sick, because it would help me to communicate that I was struggling in my head without me having to verbalize it. So this whole thing is not just about looks. It's about control, worth, visibility, and most of all, fear. That's why I can't keep brushing it off as just thoughts. The shift for me is realizing that this is not just making me feel bad, but it's making me smaller mentally. Because if I'm spending this much brain power on food, weight, checking my body, rechecking my body, debating what I ate, planning what I'm going to eat, wondering if I should compensate, wondering if I should be stricter, then is there even any brain power left for the rest of my life? Like, that is time and energy I could have spent on things that I actually care about, like my goals, my work, my relationship, my creativity, my peace. And when I look into the life that I actually want and dream about, it's obvious that this mindset does not fit into it. Because I want a strong body that works well. I want to have calm mornings. I want to eat without stress. I want to spend time in nature. I want to have hobbies without feeling guilt. I want movement that supports me, not controls me. I want my life to be more than just my body. So now I'm trying to treat this less as a body problem and more like a focus problem. Because that's what it is. My mind is wasting itself on the wrong thing. So this is where I become more concrete. So these are some of the thought patterns I still get and how I'm trying to respond to them instead of automatically believing them or just trying to ignore them and push them behind in the back of my head, because that's not working. Instead, I'm catching myself having this thought, and then I'm writing the thought down on paper or on my phone, and then I'm responding to that thought in a more productive way. For example, the thought, I should eat less today. What I'm trying to say back is, no, me eating less is not automatically me being healthier. Half of the time, that thought is not about health. It's just about panic. Because when I feel stressed or overwhelmed, my safe route is to go back to the I should eat less, because then I can find control in something when I don't feel in control of my life, if that makes sense. Another one is, you didn't move enough today. And what I answer to that is that my body is not a machine that needs to justify being fed. I don't need to earn food by moving. And then we have, if I were smaller, I would finally feel better. And I answer that by saying, that is not a fact, Victoria. That is just an old fantasy. Because I had a bad body image and did not feel good at all, even when I was smaller. That was a miserable way to live. So I have tried that theory that being smaller would make me feel better. But clearly the problem wasn't solved by being skinnier. Like, now it's almost laughable. Like, that was not fun to live in that body. And then we have, you need to get more disciplined and be more stricter, Victoria. But the fuck? Discipline toward what? Toward health or toward obsession? Because those are not the same thing. Like, why would I want to be more disciplined with destructive, obsessive life choices? No. But obviously, if I answer that question with, okay, Victoria, you need to be more disciplined with studying, then yeah, that is a valid point. But that's why I also write these down and answer them, because most often I can answer if it is a thought that roots in me wanting to achieve my dreams, or if it's just my ED voice. And the biggest one is, this thought feels true. And that's almost always the thought that I come back to when I answer these thoughts. Because I'm like, okay, but this feels true, Victoria. This feels true. What I tell myself when I have that thought is that a thought feeling intense does not make it wise. It just means that it hit a nerve. And as I said, this one is the most important one for me, because most of these thoughts, they don't have logic behind them. Like, I can almost never come up with a logical argument when I have these obsessive, destructive thoughts, but still they feel super true. Like, they feel like the right one, even if they can't say anything for these thoughts. anything for themselves. It's just this strong feeling in my chest that losing weight is the right path. Even when another part of me knows that does not make sense at all. So I have stopped treating intense thoughts like the truth. And that has honestly been the biggest one for me. Apart from writing my thoughts down, here are 5 habits that I have implemented into my life that has made it easier for me to actually unlearn these thoughts. So the first one is obvious, but also the most important one, so I need to include it. And that is eating regularly and enough. Because when I deprive myself from food, my brain becomes louder and dumber also. And that's just a physiological fact. Because then all the thoughts feel even more dramatic and important and threatening. And my ability to think drops, obviously. Because my brain is definitely in fight or flight mode when I deprive myself from food. And it is very important in this step to also try to make food feel as normal as possible. So not perfect or aesthetic or morally clean, just more normal and more regular. Because I want to stop seeing food as this thing that only makes me more undesirable and unlikable. No, food should just be normal. The second one is having slow mornings. This one has been so good to implement because I know that the worst thing I can do is start my day feeling rushed, distracted, and already disconnected from myself. So I have a good, nutritious breakfast with no screens, no distractions, no rushing, just a more stable start to the day. The third thing is changing how I think about exercise, because I still care about movement. Otherwise, I wouldn't be studying to become a physical therapist. I want to feel strong. I want a body that works well and works for a long time. And how I'm doing this is by asking myself when I am exercising or want to exercise. I ask myself, did this support my goals when it comes to exercise? Did this make me feel stronger? Or was this just me trying to chase control again? Or trying to manipulate my body or compensate for something? Because I don't want exercise to be my socially acceptable way of acting out anxiety. I want it to feel like something I get to do, not something I have to do. The fourth is catching body checking faster. Because body checking is such a stupid little habit that ruins way more than people admit. It looks small, but it changes the whole tone for the day. So if I notice myself doing the whole mirror thing, or the camera angle thing, stomach checking thing, comparing thing, I'm trying to interrupt it earlier instead of letting it spiral into a full mental episode. The fifth thing is making sure that my life contains things that has nothing to do with my body. Like nature, reading, painting, crafting, talking to people I love. Just doing things that makes me feel like a whole person again. Because I know from writing down my goals, watch my latest video about that, that is actually the life that I want. I don't want a life where I'm constantly thinking about my body. I want a life where my body is just a part of it. I do want to be honest and say that I still have these thoughts. I still have days when my brain tells me that being smaller will solve way more things than it actually will. I still have days when food feels way more loaded than it should. I still have moments when I can feel that old pull towards control. So this is not me pretending that I'm past it, but I am past one thing. I will not be worshipping those thoughts anymore. I don't want to keep acting like every destructive thought deserves a seat on a table just because it popped up in my head. And yes, I used to be much worse. I used to have way worse thoughts and worse behaviors. But I don't want to be stuck in this half-recovered state where I'm functioning on the outside but not mentally, and still fighting the same thoughts every single day. Because that is not freedom. That is just a more socially acceptable prison. And I want more than that. I want a mind that is clearer. I want more room for joy. I want more room for goals. I want more room for creativity and relationship and work and peace. I want to stop letting destructive thoughts take over my day and shape how I live and see the world. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Not become perfect, not become the girl who never has a bad thought ever. Just become someone who stops handing her life over to them. So if you're also on that journey or want to follow along on my journey on this, please follow and subscribe. Follow and subscribe. And comment if you have any tips or thoughts on this topic, because I would love to read and feel less alone by hearing real people say something about it. You know? Peace and love!